Hi everyone, it's Becky here. So happy spring! So welcome to another new video on my YouTube channel. In today's video, I'm going to share with you the sketches that I did from observation of the views outside my window. So I'm going to begin with this view from the third floor of my home, from my reading room window, of the blooming cherry blossoms, and the maple tree is also blooming. So I decided to draw a tall rectangular frame just to easily fit all of the details inside. And here it is. So as always, I like to begin with a foreground element. As you can see, I'm drawing the rooftop of my neighbor's house, just a little tip, and the side of their third floor. So foreground element is very important to help establishing a sense of depth in a landscape or urban sketch. And just keep continuing drawing. It doesn't have to be the whole object, just part of it. Okay, and after that, I'm connecting the balcony railings in relationship to the position of the window. And there's a sense of perspective for these balcony railings. These are actually three-dimensional prism shapes. So when doing urban sketching, it's very important to break down a large complex subject matter into different smaller parts of geometric shapes and see each shape in 3 dimensions. And now I'm just connecting this car in relationship to the position of the balcony railings. It's on the very top of this railing of my other neighbor's house. After the outline, just drawing the wheel and the window details. Now keep connecting another object. Above the car is the little cherry tree and some more cars in the distance. Just keep connecting. There's a maple tree behind this cherry tree on the side of the street. And again, I'm comparing the base of the tree in relationship to the large house on the very right side. And now I'm starting to add this important perspective line of the street and sidewalk and keep adding this cherry tree closer to me, starting with the tree trunk and then build up the branches and twigs. A lot of the twigs are being covered by the blossoms, so I'm just drawing just very few that's sticking out from the blossoms. And keep adding this perspective line going into the horizon and these lines dividing the lawns and the driveways. Okay, yeah, this is a very special angle of perspective. And keep adding another tree. There are lots of trees. This is the large maple tree in the middle of this sketch. As you can see, I started with the tree trunk and then these large branches. Emerging from the large branches are the twigs. And again, just because this tree is bare branched, there's no leaves on it. Don't get stressed out. You don't have to draw every single twig that's on there. Just relax and draw very quickly to summarize the form of the tree rather than copying every single stick of twigs that's on there. I think that the direction, the size, the length of the branches are more important than the twigs. And because this maple tree is the largest tree and is also a central focus of this sketch, I'm spending a lot of time adding more details for it, like the twigs. Just be very patient. Okay, I think that's it. Now adding another important line to suggest perspective. There's a vanishing point somewhere in the distance, up there, but we don't have to know where it is. We just have to pay attention to the angle of the sidewalk and the street line. Same as here, the line on the other side of the street leading into a vanishing point in the distance. Now keep adding some more quick lines This is the concrete tiles of the driveways. More tiles made of concrete. And these lines are also adding a sense of distance and space. Another smaller tree in the far distance. Now I'm drawing the contour outline of the forest around the horizon with very gentle lines. And now I'm starting to add the houses and the windows on the other side of the street. So now I'm just forgetting about that I'm drawing houses. I'm only focusing on the shapes of the rooftop and the placement of the windows. Okay, because this is a very special angular view of these houses. The more that you think you're drawing houses, the more stressful it is, because these houses, they look very squished from this perspective. Just focus on the very few lines that defines the form of them. And adding the cars in the distance. They're very tiny because they're far away. Another tree there. There's just so many trees on my block. And now just drawing this person walking by. Another great way to add a sense of proportion. The chair on my neighbor's balcony. And I think that's pretty much it for the line work. So the line drawing process was speeded up 2 times faster than my real-time drawing speed. And now I'm painting. The painting process again is the same speed, 2 times faster than in real life. So I'm gonna paint the sky first. I just wetted the sky area with clear water, adding a little bit of lemon yellow to suggest sunshine. And it's a pretty cloudy day. And now I'm adding a little bit of cerulean blue mixed with a little bit green. The sky, I feel like it's a turquoise color, very calm. And wet into wet, let it blend with the sunshine yellow. Now I'm wetting the street area with clear water and also adding this mix of medium yellow and yellow ochre to suggest the warm spring sunshine. Even though it's a very cloudy day, I can still feel the warmth of the sun on everything. Yep, and this is also a great way to establish a warm atmosphere for a spring or summer or sunny day feeling in the landscape. And now I'm adding some viridian green mixed with a little bit of medium yellow or yellow ochre. Every brushstroke can be different. Same for the lawns on the other side of the street. Just trying to finish all of these greens at the same time so I don't have to switch back and forth between different colors. Again, the more yellow or medium yellow you add into the viridian green, the more warmer the green is. Very loosely. And I don't stir too much to try to flatten the brushstrokes. I really like saving the brushstrokes. It's very impressionistic. And now I am switching to my smaller tip Sakura Water Brush. I just grab some red and dilute it so it looks pinkish. For watercolors, if you put a lot of water into red, it's gonna look strawberry pink. And using this very loose dotting brushstrokes to suggest the blossoms. And same for this tree. Yeah, so this species of cherry blossoms are very light in color compared to some other ones. So very light pink. Blending on some purple around the middle of these cherry trees to suggest a little bit of shade and 3-dimension. And I want to keep the color really fresh, clean by not over stirring. Just add a little bit more around the outside of this tree. Just want it to look more charming and big. The canopy is actually pretty big in the foreground. Yeah, just a bit more. And now I am adding some brown here and there for the shade of the lawn, and also for the earth to show on top of the lawn. Okay, so that's pretty much it for the first and second layer of everything. Now I'm adding the second layer for the forest, a darker tone. So I just mix some burnt sienna or brown into viridian green to make the green more intense. And dilute some leftover brown to paint the houses on the other side of the street very lightly. Yeah, I don't want to make the houses too dark. I want to keep them light so they stand out from the forest. So it's really important to control yourself to not overpaint sometimes, to leave certain areas bright. And now I think I'm adding some shade color underneath the cherry trees. And also these are the shadows of the houses. The sun is on the right side, so the shadows are landing on the left. Yep, a lot of shadows on the driveways and the lawns. So this is a leftover gray that I mix with some ultramarine blue, purple, and green. Yeah, some more shadow of the maple tree here in the middle of the street, using thin brush strokes to show the form of the branches. Yeah, and the shadow is actually very diluted. Just paint this car with magenta pink, leaving a little streak there to show the highlight on the car body. Now I'm painting the tree trunk with a mix of viridian green and a bit of burnt sienna. It's a kind of dark brown green color for these tree trunks. Yeah, and just painting lightly of the branches too with the same color. Yeah, very gentle brush strokes and diluted colors. When we're painting, we don't have to use strong colors all the time. Sometimes the brush strokes can be a bit invisible. Now I'm painting the side of the house with leftover browns and the balcony too. And taking a little break and see the real things in front of me to see what other details that I need to add. Yeah, I'm just gonna paint the outfit of that person's with leftover gray. Grabbing some blue to paint the shadow underneath the car. And use the same intense blue to add the shade for these trees here and there. I want these trees to look stronger, to stand out better on the page. A little bit shade using the blue here and there, cobalt blue, and yeah, tiny little brush strokes here and there. And now I think I'm ready to paint the blossoms on the maple tree in the middle of this sketch. So it's a mix of red and orange. And as you can see, I'm using these tiny little choppy brush strokes to suggest the texture of the blossoms. And again, this part of painting takes a little bit patience, but you don't have to be the same as the number of blossoms on there. Of course, this is very playful. It can be very fun. So when painting tiny details in a landscape or urban landscape, we can just paint based on our intuitions, our feelings, and our impressions on what we see, right? It's actually very relaxing to do this kind of details. There's no need to stress. Just get the overall layout of the blossoms, and just get these brush strokes in. Yeah, just let the brush jump or dance on the page and enjoy what comes on the page. A little bit of maple blossoms in the distance too. Yeah, tiny tree there. Last bit. And I think that's pretty much it. Just add some final details, little light dashes here and there. I think now I want to add some more patch of shadow on the lawn over here by mixing even more brown or burnt sienna into the green. Here we go. Yeah, so the shadow of the houses are landing on the lawn part too. And just some final polish here and there, little shadows underneath the cherry blossom tree. And that's it. Here is the look of my finished sketch. It took me about 25 to 30 minutes to finish. Moving on, the next day, I am gonna sketch this big cluster of cherry blossoms right outside my bedroom window. Yeah, it's a challenge because I need to think of ways to simplify, to save time, and just capture the essence. And for this one, I'm not doing a frame. I just want to do like an open sketch without a frame. And as you can see, I'm just drawing these branches sticking out, branches and twigs sticking out, not being covered by the blossoms, and use these very small little curvy lines to show the shapes of the clusters. Yeah, so these cherry blossoms are made up of many different large clusters, kind of like hydrangea a little bit, and adding a little bit tiny twigs here and there. Again, this part actually takes a lot of patience. There's another way to do it, it's just to draw the branches and twigs and don't draw the blossoms, and just use paint to do the blossoms. But for me, because these cherry blossoms are so close to me, it's very hard to omit these details. Okay, that's it. Now I'm moving on to the background, drawing the rooftop, the triangular forms, and the trapezoid shapes. Yeah, again, just when looking at houses or any architectures, divide them into multiple smaller shapes. And I just drew the tree in front of the house, and there's a car parked by the side of the street. I keep connecting the fence above the car in perspective. And here's another house on the left side, again triangular rooftop structures, and a truck parked in front, the front door part. Drawing very quickly just to summarize those windows. They don't have to look so perfect in the same size as real life. And same with this. Yeah, just very simple outline, and it's just very little bit of details. And this is already very convincing for the viewer that they're houses. And drawing trees in the distance. And for the drawing process of this sketch, the speed is 8 times faster compared to the real life speed. And the color of the sky is very peaceful. So here is the look of my finished line work. It took me about almost 20 minutes to do. And time to have fun with watercolors. So as always, I like to paint the sky first. Just wetted it with clear water, and switching to my medium tip Sakura Water Brush to add this stripe of medium yellow and blend on a little bit of orange. Yeah, that stripe of bright sunshine cloud. And cerulean blue underneath. I don't mind it blending with a little bit of the yellow above because the evening sky is actually looking a little bit turquoise. Mixing blue with yellow is going to turn the blue into a turquoise tone. And for the top of the sky too, very peaceful kind of blue. And I just mix ultramarine blue with pink purple to paint this dark shade of cloud over here on top. And I like to do it wet on wet to create this loose and smoky kind of look for these clouds. And yeah, so that's for the sky area. Okay, so now I think I'm ready to paint the giant cluster of cherry blossoms, just wetting the whole area with clear water because I want the color to spread out very loosely. And I just grab some magenta pink, mix with a little bit of cherry red, very much diluted, because these cherry blossoms, they're very light in color, almost white kind of pink. But here the color is more intense compared to real life because I really want these blossoms to look more lively. So I'm just making them more vibrant in color, not too light. Again, just using small round dashes of brush strokes, using slight different pressure for each brush stroke so it looks more interesting and loose. Okay, so that's pretty much for the first layer of the cherry blossoms. A very light, clean, pinkish color. I want to leave it to dry a little bit before adding another shade layer. So while waiting for that to dry, I'm painting the lawn on the other side of the street by mixing radiant green with a little bit of yellow ochre. And for the forest in the distance, I just put on some yellow ochre and blend on some radiant green mixed with brown or burnt sienna for the top part. Yeah, using very sharp brush strokes to accentuate the sharpness of the trees. So this painting speed is 2 times faster compared to my real life speed. Okay, so now just adding a little bit of more vibrant yellow underneath the forest because there's a little bit sunshine glow around that area. And adding some yellow ochre for the exterior of these houses. And grabbing some burnt sienna or brown and blending a little bit of blue to darken it a bit to paint the rooftops very loosely. So when applying watercolors, I don't like to stir that much. Just punch the color on and let it go. There's no need to flatten all of those brush strokes because I believe brush strokes are always a very nice lively expression. And adding a bit of dark brown for the concrete underneath the houses and for the street too, a little bit in between the cherry blossoms because there are gaps in between these smaller clusters. Be a little bit cautious because I don't want to make the cluster way too dark. Just very small dots in between here and there. And it's good to add this dark concrete color after the pink cherry blossom part is dried, so it's not blending with the pink to make it look dirty. And adding some darker tones for the house structure here and there with leftover gray. And dark blue on top of these dark brown rooftops because it's evening time and these rooftops are looking very dark. A bit shade for the side of the houses and for the fence too, just to give them more 3 dimension by adding bits of shade on the side of these houses. Yeah, as you can see, I'm using a lot of leftover colors because there's no need to spend time remixing a lot of colors from scratch. So a lot of objects and parts in an urban landscape, they're looking very muted colored, like concrete, houses, rooftops. And now I'm adding another quick layer of more intense magenta pink, but putting less water into the mixture so there's more paint pigment, and using even smaller dotty brush strokes. Yeah, just to give more depth for these blossoms. Using tiny detailed brush strokes like this in contrast with the broader brushstrokes underneath. So layering in watercolors is very important. The early layer, the first or second layer, doesn't have to be that much detailed, but for the layer on top, it can be more detailed to give more definition. Yeah, I'm mixing a little bit of purple into the pink. And again, it's also very important to not overwork these fresh pink colors. I think I'm done with them now. Just grabbing some dark brown to paint these branches and twigs sticking out around the bottoms. It gives more interest to this cluster of pink by adding these thin lined details. Nice contrast of the thin lines with the little dots. There's more variety of expression here. And some more intense brown. Again, we can make a brown more intense by mixing a bit of ultramarine blue or cobalt blue into it. Very small pressure using the tip of the brush to add these details. And that's it. And I think I captured the essence of the scenery and I stop. So here's the look of my finished sketches and the completed page spread. So thank you so much for watching my video. If you like my video, please click like and leave me a comment below. Subscribe to my channel for future updates so you never miss a new video. And have a great day, everyone. See you very soon next time.